And the Detroit Pistons, they're in trouble. I mean, you guys saw that game yesterday afternoon, 1 o'clock on ABC against the Knicks. New York is up 3-1 in this series against the Detroit Pistons, and it doesn't look good for Detroit Pistons and Cade Cunningham. I mean, everyone saw what happened. The last shot, yes, Tim Hardaway Jr. got hit. There was a lot of contact there. It didn't get called. In the regular season, yes, it gets called. In that series, how physical it's been through 4 games, they weren't going to call it. I know everyone is pissed off here in the state of Michigan. All you Detroit Pistons fans, I get it. But, I mean, at the same time, it's the playoffs. They're not going to call that. Now, if it was Jalen Brunson and we were in New York, maybe they get the call. But in that situation, I mean, it was horrible. I mean, I was upset. I was furious. I mean, it was egregious. He hit the guy. He hit Tim Hardaway Jr. as he was making the final shot. Should have been a foul. Should have been three throws for the Detroit Pistons. We possibly could have won that game at home. We needed to. And I said that on the last time we were on Guys Time here on the podcast. We needed to win this game. We needed to at least win one game at home. We didn't. And another one-possession loss for the Detroit Pistons. I'll say this. Despite losing, being down 3-1 against the New York Knicks, we've been very competitive all series. This series has been very competitive. It's been the best. And maybe that's me being a little biased towards the Detroit Pistons, obviously being here from Michigan. But at the same time, it's been back and forth between these two. I love the physicality. You got star players making big shots. It's down to the wire. Most of the games in this series, through 4 games, it's been down to the wire. Like the past couple minutes, it comes down to a few points or less. So it's been great. Unfortunately, the Pistons are down 3-1. We all saw the situation. We saw the controversial no call. It should have been called. It doesn't get called. But now I saw a report today that the officials admit that they were wrong by not calling that foul on the last play of the game. They even admitted to it. And we knew this was going to happen because they do it every single time. They do it in the NFL. They do it in MLB. They do it in hockey. What makes a difference for the NBA? In the NBA, I tell you what, the officiating in the NBA, the games I've seen, not just from this series, but all the other series in the playoffs so far, horrible, egregious, absolutely disgusting. These officials are garbage. I'm sorry, but this is just unbelievable. I mean, what the hell are you doing? Take the blinders off, dude. Do your job. Call the foul. The foul's right there. And I'm not just talking about this game. I'm talking about all the other games in these playoffs. But they finally came out a day later, right? And they admit that there should have been a foul called on that last play against Tim Hardaway Jr. from the Detroit Pistons. So you had that going on. My uncle was furious. My Uncle Michael, shout out to him. He loves his Detroit Pistons. He was very upset. He was pissed off, just like everyone was. I mean, it was horrible. It was a horrible non-call. You have to call that in that situation, but I get it. At the same time, it's the playoffs. But at the same time, a couple of seconds before, Cade Cunningham, our supposed star player, you are the face of the Detroit Pistons. You have to make that shot. I mean, it wasn't far. It was well within your range. You have to make that shot, dude. You have to. Crunch time, big moments, big opportunities, spotlights on you, my friend. Let's go, Jack. You have to make the shot. He missed it. So you can blame that too. And like I said, it's been physical all series between the Knicks and the Pistons. The refs are letting these guys play. And no different from Game 4 yesterday afternoon. They were letting them play. A lot of calls that should have been called weren't being called by the officials. These officials were letting these players play. And I understand that. So that situation, it was horrible. It was shitty that we didn't get the call. But it is what it is. Now we got to go to New York tomorrow night. That's going to be tough. It's going to be a wild crowd. You know how New York is. It's a big market. They love their basketball. The Knicks obviously trying to win a championship for the first time in 50-plus years. So it's going to be wild tomorrow night. But down 3-1, that is not good for the Detroit Pistons. So that's how we open the podcast. Guys time today. Zach Bryce here. We opened up with some NBA playoffs. Crazy, right? But yeah, Pistons, Knicks, Game 4. Crazy Craziness all around. Another one possession loss by the Detroit Pistons. They lose 94-93, guys. I mean, damn. Just a couple more points, couple more seconds. Cade Cunningham makes that shot, and maybe we win Game 4 yesterday. I don't know. Maybe they call the foul like they should have because those refs are morons. I don't know. But New York is up 3-1. Unfortunately, going back to New York tomorrow night, as I mentioned. So the Pistons, and this is another talking point. We can say, oh, Cade Cunningham should have made that shot. Oh, they should have called a foul on Tim Hardaway Jr. So much contact. That should have been a foul. Foul. Shame. But at the same time, the Pistons, once again, had another 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And they blew it. Again, this is a common theme for the Detroit Pistons. When you're up by 10, when you're up late in the fourth quarter, you have to maintain that lead. They blew it again. They allowed New York to come back and win. You can't do that in these playoffs, and especially at home. You cannot. I mean, you cannot give up a lead like that at home in the playoffs. You can't. It's unacceptable. But the three-point percentage from both teams, Pistons 24.1%, that's god-awful, versus New York's 45.5%. So obviously the three-point shot was working for New York. It was sucking for us. And then turnover trouble. Again, another common theme for the Detroit Pistons in these playoffs. 19 total turnovers for the Pistons. You can't give up the ball, man. I mean, they got Karl Anthony Towns, who went 10 for 23 from the field goal, 5 for 7 for three-pointer. And it seems like every single time I see that guy shoot the ball from the three-point arc, he doesn't miss. 5 for 7, that's pretty damn good from the three-point shot. And he had 27 points to finish the day. So, star player, you can't turn the ball over and allow star players like Karl Anthony Towns to take advantage of that opportunity. So, turnovers, blowing leads late in the game, late in the fourth quarter, missing shots. You can't do that. And then Jalen Brunson, 13 for 26 field goal, 4 for 7 from three-pointer. So he was making a three-point shot. He got hurt late in the third quarter. He came back and dominated the Detroit Pistons. So hell of a performance by Jalen Brunson. I know he's not a fan favorite here. We don't like him because, he's a flop artist. Which star player isn't, right? He finishes with 32 points. Like I said, he injured his ankle late in the third quarter, but he came back and finished the game. So good for him. But you can't turn the ball over and allow guys like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns to take advantage of those opportunities. And we did, unfortunately. So turnover battle, missing shots. Cade Cunningham needs to make that shot. He's our star player. No excuse about it. And then obviously the non-call that should have been called. I mean, man, Stevie Wonder would have seen that shit. So it is what it is. So Cade Cunningham, 11 for 23 field goal. 0 for 3 from the three-point arc. That's horrible. Like I said, you're the star player, dude. You can't have that happen. 25 points. Still finished with 25 points, the most on the team in yesterday's game. So, not too bad, but he has to make that shot towards the end of the game there. Tobias Harris, 6 for 15, 0 for 3 from 3 points. So obviously, the three-point percentage makes sense. 24.1% for the Detroit Pistons. None of our star players could make threes, it seemed like, yesterday. He finishes with 18 points. Unfortunately, he did foul out, but you had that going on. Asar Thompson finished with 8 points. Need to see a lot more production from him. You can't finish with 8 points and expect to achieve greatness there. So you had that going on. Malik Beasley coming from the bench. 3 for 9 for the three-point arc. I think he set the record for over 300 three-pointers made in the regular season this year. So yeah, that going on. He finishes with 13 points off the bench. So I'm looking at this game and, the star players, Cade Cunningham finished with 25. That's cool. But he's got to make that shot towards the end of the game. You have to. You have to make that shot. So just a quick recap of the Detroit Pistons throughout this series. So they collapsed in the fourth quarter, game 1. We all saw that. That was god-awful. You allowed the New York Knicks to go on a 21-0 run. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's disgusting. That's horrible. You can't do that. I mean, that is, There's something wrong there if you're allowing the New York Knicks to go on a 21-0 run in the fourth quarter. You're telling me you didn't score a damn point in that single entire quarter? I don't understand it. So that was game one fiasco for the Pistons. They won game 2 in New York. Good. Come back to Detroit. Win both games at home. That didn't happen. They lost both home games. Games 3 and 4 by one possession. Game 3 they lost 118-116. Game 4 yesterday they lost 94-93. Like I said, this has been a very competitive playoff. Very competitive series between the Pistons and the Knicks. But the Pistons needed to win yesterday because now they're in trouble. They are in trouble, dude. It's not looking great for the Detroit Pistons. The light is about to burn out on these Detroit Pistons. In the last home playoff game victory for these Detroit Pistons, we have to go back all the way back to 2008 in the Eastern Conference Final when we won Game 4 against the Boston Celtics. We won that game 94-75. That was the last time the Detroit Pistons won a home playoff game. 17 years ago, dude. And then obviously we all remember the Boston Celtics went on to win the championship that year. You know, Kevin Garnett's iconic, anything's possible. Remember that? Yes. That was a great moment for him and for the Boston Celtics. But 2008 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 4. Last time the Detroit Pistons won a home playoff game. 94-75, they ended up winning that one. But that was 17 damn years ago. 17 years. We needed to win games 3 and 4 here at home because now we're going to New York tomorrow night. And we're in trouble. We're screwed. I'm being honest. So... I don't even know what to say to the Pistons at this point. I guess limit the turnovers. Don't blow a fourth quarter lead again, like you did in Game 1, like you did in Game 4 yesterday. Like, if you have a lead, maintain it. Don't allow Karl Anthony Towns to get hot. Don't let Jalen Brunson get hot. You know, we need Tobias Harris to do something. We need Asar Thompson to do something. We need Malik Beasley to step up. You know, Cade Cunningham, you know, he needs to make shots, right, when they matter. So Pistons need to come full force tomorrow night. And then obviously next game tomorrow night, Tuesday, TNT, Max, wherever you watch your games. Game 5, 7:30 p.m. start in New York. It's going to be a rowdy crowd, man. So good luck to the Pistons. That's all I got to say. But yeah, Game 4, lots of controversy. Should there have been a foul call? Yes. In the regular season, do we see that call being made? Yes. It didn't happen. Craziness. It's BS. Not fair, but life's not fair, right? You know, we had too many opportunities too. We can look at that play and be like, man, we got screwed by the refs. And in that situation, we did. But then Cade Cunningham misses a shot with a couple seconds left. He's our star player. He's got to make that. We turned the ball over 19 total times. Again, allowing Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson doing their work, doing their magic like they did. They've been doing all series long, especially from the 3-point mark. You blow another fourth quarter lead late in the fourth quarter. You're up by 10 and you blew it again. Just like Game 1, you did in Game 4 yesterday. So let's don't do that either. So Pistons got to win tomorrow night. But yeah, that's the NBA playoffs for the Detroit Pistons. Now we got to move on to the Stanley Cup playoffs. These playoffs have been much more fun. Not a lot of controversy in terms of officiating. Officiating so far, pretty damn good. You know, you don't really hear a whole lot of bad stuff about the officiating with hockey. It's usually basketball, football is god-awful. And then baseball, can go either way. But hockey, for the most part, pretty good. And these playoffs, been pretty good. But you know what? In terms of better vibes, you know, my opinion, because I like hockey better than basketball. You guys know. But the Stanley Cup playoffs, I said numerous times, they got the best playoff format. And these playoffs have been absolutely phenomenal. So we got to start this weekend. Lots of crazy games going on. Lots of physicality. all these games, all these series in the Stanley Cup playoffs have been great in terms of physicality, excitement, great moments, great plays, great goals, great saves. Lots of fights. I love it. I love it. But we got to start with the Blues and Jets. Game 4, the Blues dominated yesterday, 5-1, and they won at home. And they've been great at home. So the series is tied 2-2. So they got to go back to Winnipeg Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. on ESPN. So that's going to be a good matchup there because, like I mentioned last time, President's Trophy winner, Winnipeg Jets. The President's Trophy doesn't really mean much, especially these past couple years in the playoffs, because only 2 teams during the salary cap era, which started in the 2005-2006 season, only 2 teams have won both the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup in the same year. And we all know who those teams are. I mentioned it last time here on Guys Time. The 2007-2008 Detroit Red Wings and the 2012-2013 Chicago Blackhawks. And for St. Louis, they've won 14 straight regular season and playoff home games dating back to February 23rd. So they're really unstoppable at home, St. Louis. So they got to go to Winnipeg Wednesday night, and they got to beat Winnipeg if they want to stay in this series. But the series is tied 2-2. Very exciting series. Lots of physicality as well. Lots of hits coming from the Blues. I think they are like second in hits. I think Winnipeg has more. So lots of physicality in this series between the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. So then in this game yesterday as well, Jordan Binnington, he won the Stanley Cup with the Blues back in 2019. Great season by the St. Louis Blues there. He had 30 saves in this game, so he needs to step up. And once again, going to Game 5 Wednesday night in Winnipeg, he's got to show up. So good series there. Check it out. Play some bets. That's been a hell of a series there. Next series, we got the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils. Now, we all know the Carolina Hurricanes. They can play some hockey. The past few years in the playoffs, they just back and forth. They know how to shoot. They know how to get up that ice, play defense. They've been great past couple years. Canes win this one 5-2, so they lead the series 3-1. So New Jersey losing at home, they needed that win to try to tie the series. But now you go back to North Carolina, and it's it looks pretty bad for the New Jersey Devils. So Hurricanes had a power play goal, so they took advantage of the man advantage. The Devils had 15 giveaways. You can't do that in the playoffs. Just like basketball with the Pistons giving up the ball 19 straight times in Game 4 against the Knicks. You can't give up the puck 15 times against a very good team in the Carolina Hurricanes. So 15 giveaways for the New Jersey Devils. A key reason why they lost yesterday. The Canes. They won. They had 41 face-off wins versus New Jersey's 29. You win that face-off, you dictate what's going to happen in that situation. In those few minutes, you got the puck possession. Let it rip. And they won the face-off 41 times versus New Jersey's 29 times. So another key reason why New Jersey lost and Carolina won. So next game, tomorrow night, 7:30, TBS Max. The Carolina Hurricanes have an opportunity to move on in the playoffs. The Devils definitely, without question, need to win tomorrow night. We'll see what happens there. But that's been a hell of a series as well. Andrei Svechnikov had 3 goals. He had a hat trick for the Carolina Hurricanes yesterday. So good for him. He's been a hell of a player for the past few years there for that franchise. So good for him. So you have that going on. Next game between these two, the Devils and Hurricanes. Tomorrow night, 7:30, TBS Max, wherever you watch your hockey games, check it out. That's going to be a good one there. Game 5 for that series. Now we got to go to the another series, the Capitals and the Canadiens, another very exciting series. Washington leads this series 3-1. They won yesterday 5-2. The Capitals, they won the face-off 35 times versus Montreal's 25 times. Montreal, despite losing 5-2, they had 2 power play goals. Those were the only goals they scored. Unfortunately, you have to score when you're at even strength as well. It's nice to have a man advantage, obviously, right? But when it's 5-on-5, you got to score goals. And unfortunately, last night, the Canadiens could not do it. They could not pull the trigger and try to win this game at home. Now they got to go back to Washington for Game 5. And then Washington had an empty netter to seal the game. Lots of physicality. This one, a lot of after the whistle scrums and, fights. I mean, from the start. Game one, I mean, these two teams are beating the crap out of each other. It's fun. I like it. I love the physicality. I mentioned it earlier. The physicality has been fun. That's what makes the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's a key part of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So lots of physicality between these two teams, the Capitals and the Canadiens. Washington's up 3-1. They go to Washington. That game is Wednesday, Game 5, Wednesday, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Obviously, the Canadiens need to win. But I see the Capitals winning this one. I just want to see Alexander Ovechkin win another Stanley Cup. I might be the only one who, agrees with that. But I like what he did this year. He broke Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. He's won a Stanley Cup. He won it back in 2018. So it's been a few years, 7 years specifically. I like to see him win one more. He's pushing 40 years old. He wins this Stanley Cup. He should retire. He's one of the greatest hockey players of all time. He has nothing else to prove. So, in my opinion, I like to see him win another Stanley Cup. They are going to win Game 5 Wednesday night against the Montreal Canadiens. But Montreal, they got to figure something out. So, another exciting series. Lots of physicality. I love that series as well. The Kings and Oilers. This one was a later one. Game 4 last night. Oilers won 4-3 in overtime. So the series is tied 2-2. So both teams, the LA Kings, they opened up the series in LA. They won both their home games. And then games 3 and 4, Edmonton won both their home games. Now you got to go back to LA for Game 5. Series is tied 2-2. And then who else but Leon Draisaitl? I mean, right? It could have been Connor McDavid too, but throw in another great player on that squad for the Oilers. Leon Draisaitl gets the overtime goal. Wins the game for them 4-3. The series is tied 2-2. So great moment by him. He's one of the best players in the NHL right now. So you have that going on. Shots. Edmonton had 48. LA had 41. So they were shooting the puck. Very exciting game. That's what you're supposed to do. I wish the Red Wings could take some notes. Maybe they're watching the playoffs right now and maybe take some notes. Oh, this is how you shoot the puck instead of passing it 5,000 times. Shoot the damn puck. Right? I mean, look what Edmonton did. Look what LA did, 48-41 in shots. Shoot the damn puck. Stop passing the damn puck. I mean, Red Wings, maybe take some notes because, you missed the playoffs 9 straight years. Last time you made the playoffs, I was 19 years old. I'm 28 now. It's been a while. Yeah. So take some mental notes, Detroit Red Wings. So you had that. 2 power play goals for Edmonton on 3 opportunities. And then same with LA. They had 3 opportunities at the power play, 0 power play goals. They were able to extend it to overtime, 3-3. And then obviously Edmonton wins it off of Leon Draisaitl's game winner there. The Canes, 32 blocked shots. So they're not afraid to get dirty, I guess you can say. I mean, sacrificing their bodies to block shots, to make key plays. You have to do that sometimes. But 32 blocked shots from these LA Canes, so hats off to them. I mean, that could definitely, going into Game 5 back in LA, that could help them out in the long run. And then hits. Edmonton, 53 hits to LA's 44. Again, another physical matchup here, another physical series between the Oilers and the LA Kings. But then the next game, back in LA, tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. Series is tied 2-2. Canes and Oilers. That's going to be a good one there. Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. Game 4. Vegas wins 4-3 in overtime. Another overtime game. I mean, we've seen a lot of overtime games so far in these Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been fantastic. Series is tied 2-2 as a result. Ivan Barbashev with the game winner. 2 power play goals for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, obviously, that helped them out in the long run. But then Ivan Barbashev. Ivan Barbashev with the game winner for the Vegas Golden Knights. 2 power play goals for Vegas. On the next game, back in Las Vegas, Nevada, Game 5, 9:30, ESPN, tomorrow night. So, Minnesota, they've looked, they can hang with this team. They can hang with the Vegas Golden Knights. But Vegas, they find ways to win. So you're back in Vegas. I like the Vegas Golden Knights here, but Minnesota, don't sleep on them. Series is tied at 2-2 apiece. 2 games apiece. Game 5 tomorrow night, 9:30 on ESPN. Lightning and Panthers, the Battle of Florida. one of the more intriguing matchups, I guess you can say. Game 3. Tampa Bay dominated this one. I mean, they absolutely destroyed the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. They destroyed them 5-1. Jay Gensel, former Pittsburgh Penguin. Anthony Cirelli, he's been on the team for a while. Braden Point, another key player for the Lightning. Nick Paul and Luke Glendening. Yeah, we remember him. He used to play for the Red Wings for many years. They all had a goal. It's just crazy because, David Perron, we had him last year. He's with the Ottawa Senators. They're in the playoffs. Oh, man, look at that. Luke Glendening, he's with the Tampa Bay Lightning. His team's in the playoffs. Oh, crazy, right? Shane Gostisbehere, we had him last year. He's with the Carolina Hurricanes. They're in the playoffs this year. Do you see a common trend here, Detroit? I mean, you give up good players, decent players, and we're left with Vladimir Tarasenko, who didn't do anything this year. Yeah, I mean, just take some notes. It's all right. You guys sit back, relax, and watch instead of competing like you're supposed to because you're an original 16. I don't know. But yeah, they all had a goal. Sergei Bobrovsky, one of the best goalies in the NHL, he had 4 goals. He allowed 4 goals on 21 shots. So he got pulled from that game. He needs to figure something out there. Next game. Monday, 7 p.m. on ESPN. So that is a great matchup there. The Florida Panthers lead this series 2-1 as a result. So that was a much needed victory for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Coming into this game, they only scored 2 goals. They got shut out in game 2 against the Panthers. So now you're going back to Florida tonight, 7 p.m. on ESPN. That's going to be a good one. But yeah, the Battle of Florida. That's been a hell of a series there as well. So the Avalanche and the Stars, another great series, another very interesting series. Game 4, Colorado wins this one 4-0. Shut them out. Shut out the Stars. They tied the series as a result, 2-2. So another interesting series here because Dallas Stars, there was a couple of games where they went into overtime. Dallas won both overtime games. But now Colorado tied it up 2 games apiece. Game 5. That's going to happen tonight, 9:30 p.m. That's going to be a really interesting one there. You had, let's see what we got here. So yeah, we're in Dallas tonight, 9:30 ESPN for Game 5. But one of the key moments in this game was Gabriel Landeskog. Obviously, the captain for the Colorado Avalanche, a great player. He hasn't played in damn near 3 years because he had a knee injury, and then he had cartilage removal or a cartilage transplant in 2023. Kept him on the shelf for damn near 3 years, guys. 3 years. He hasn't competed in an NHL game. He scored his first goal in 3 years. His last goal before that goal this weekend against the Dallas Stars, June 26, 2022. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They won the Stanley Cup that year, but that was the last time he scored a goal. And now he scored a goal this past weekend. It was a great moment. Colorado, all those fans were waiting to see it, and it happened. So congratulations to Gabriel Landeskog. That's got to be a huge confidence booster, not only for him personally, but for the team. That's your guy. That's your captain. And he scored a goal. And maybe that was one of the key reasons why they won 4-0. So that was great to see. Congrats to Gabriel Landeskog. He deserved it. Nice to see him get his first goal in damn near 3 years. So you had that going on. Like I said, he had a knee injury, cartilage transplant in 2023. He was on the shelf for a long time. So it was good to see that. And then Nathan MacKinnon, one of the best players in the game right now. He had a goal in this game. And so far in these playoffs, he has 5 points, 4 goals, and 1 assist. He's the key guy. I wish Detroit had a guy like him. Just putting that out there, right? So the next game tonight, as I mentioned, 9:30. It's gonna be after the Lightning and the Panthers matchup tonight. So that'll be the second game on ESPN. Game 5 series is tied 2-2. So we'll see what happens with that one. And now we gotta go to Toronto. We gotta go to Canada for this one. The Maple Leafs and the Senators. The Battle of Ontario. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. The Battle of Ontario. Game 4. Ottawa wins this one. They needed to. They were down 3-0 in this series, so a much-needed victory for the Senators. They win this one 4-3 in overtime. The third straight game to go into overtime in this series. So, right there. I mean, I don't need to speak anymore. Right there just shows how competitive this series has been between the Maple Leafs and the Senators. Third straight game to go to an overtime, and Ottawa wins. They needed to because they were down 3-0 against these Maple Leafs. Jake Sanderson scores the overtime winner. It's his first in the playoffs, and it's his first career playoff game. He gets the overtime winner, so good for him. Good for the Senators for that to happen. He's the former 5th overall pick by the Senators in the 2020 NHL draft, so good for him. But now you guys got to show up now. I mean, this is no time to mess around. You go back to Toronto tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on ESPN. That's gonna be an interesting one. So Ottawa definitely, if they want to survive, if they want to keep going, they gotta win in Toronto. And I know it's gonna be a rowdy crowd. Toronto, an original 6 team. They love their hockey, but you have to win. You have to win this game. So Senators, another overtime game winner. Third straight overtime game. Are we going to see another one for Game 5? Perhaps. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, very competitive between these two teams. But Ottawa's got to go to Toronto tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Place your bets for that one. Maybe place a bet for if this game goes to overtime because they did it 3 straight times already. So it's possible they get another overtime game for Game 5. So you have that going on. And that's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like I said, it's been phenomenal. It's been very exciting to watch. Lots of overtime games. Lots of great moments. Like Gabriel Landeskog getting his first goal in 3 years. I mean, that's insane, right? A lot of people were saying he was done with that knee injury and cartilage transplant and all that craziness. But he came back and scored his first goal in 3 years. So good for him. Overtime games, lots of physicality from all these teams, all these 16 teams in the NHL playoffs so far. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch. So that's the Stanley Cup playoffs. All those games are on. A couple games on tonight, a couple games on tomorrow, a couple games on Wednesday. So place your bets. Stanley Cup playoffs lives on, baby. So you have that going on. Now we got to hop over to the NFL draft. The NFL draft last week started Thursday, ended this weekend. Live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. A lot of people showed up. I think Detroit had more people. My opinion. I was there. I've never seen so many people in my entire life. I said it before, but that's still a good turnout. But I think Detroit had more numbers. My opinion. But anyways, NFL draft. It happened. We all knew a lot of things were going to happen. I don't think a lot of people expected Shadir Sanders to drop all the way to the 5th round. 144th pick by the Cleveland Browns. We didn't see that. I didn't even see that happening. I thought maybe he'd go in the 2nd or 3rd round. But the 5th round? Whew. Yeah, maybe he can prove him wrong. I mean, look at Tom Brady. 7th round, 199th pick in the 2000 draft, right? I mean, anything's possible. He ended up winning 7 Super Bowls. But anyway, Cam Ward, first overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. The Tennessee Titans get him. Obviously, they need it because Will Levis obviously is not getting the job done down there in Tennessee. So we'll see if he gets the starting job right from the get-go, or does he learn? Does he take the bench and take a year off? We'll see. I think with that much urgency from the Titans, he might get the starting spot. So Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami, getting the first overall pick from the Tennessee Titans. Then the Jaguars traded up with the Browns to get the 2nd pick, Travis Hunter. So he joins Brian Thomas Jr., who in his rookie season, 87 receptions, 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns. So, that's going to be a hell of a battle. However, they're going to use him. Now, I don't know. The Jaguars, Travis Hunter, he played both ways at Colorado. He was a defensive back. He was a hell of a defensive back, and he was a great receiver, too. He won the Heisman Trophy this past season. So we'll see what he can do. We'll see what he can do with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, that offensive line, man, they got to hold up because it's great to have Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. together, but when you don't have time to throw the damn ball, well, what's the point, right? So you had that going on. The Giants get their guy. Honestly, I think they got their guy. Their defensive end, edge rusher, the number 1 ranked edge rusher coming to the draft, Abdul Carter from Penn State. You had that going on with the 3rd pick. And then the Raiders get Ashton Genty, Boise State running back, a bull. Definitely much needed. They need a running game over there for the Raiders, so we'll see what happens with that. And then 3 Michigan players got drafted in the 1st round. Mason Graham, he was the 5th overall pick. Defensive tackle, he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And then with the 10th overall pick, Colston Loveland got selected by the Chicago Bears, so a possible target for Caleb Williams. And then, Ben Johnson's there now as the head coach, offensive mind. We'll see what he can do with that combination. That's going to be crazy for that. That's going to be crazy however they map that out. And then Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle, Miami with the 13th pick. So three Michigan players drafted in the 1st round. Good for them. That was great to see. So you had that going on. But now we got to talk about the Lions picks real quick. So you got Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle from Ohio State. He had 100 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, and 5.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons with the Buckeyes. I see this guy. He's an interior guy. He can fill holes. He's quick. He's a good replacement for Aleem McNeil. He tore his ACL late in the season in that game against Buffalo back in December. So we're probably not going to see him until damn near Thanksgiving this year. So Tyleik Williams can be that replacement. They just got to give him that opportunity. And then, DJ Reader, he's 30 years old. He's not getting any younger. We did sign Roy Lopez from the Arizona Cardinals on that 1-year, $4.65 million contract back in March. So, there's replacements. Maybe Tyleik Williams gets that start, and he's got to show up. So a lot of people want an edge rusher. I want an edge rusher, but you know what? Those interior guys, fill the gaps, fill those holes. I think Tyleik Williams is a good pick. I like that. And Brad Holmes we trust, right? I mean, he's drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, let Brad Holmes cook. But, I mean, Super Bowl window, it's shrinking for those Detroit Lions. So, Tyleik Williams, Ohio State defensive tackle. I like it. And then 2nd round pick, we had Tate Ratledge, offensive guard from Georgia, 6'7", 308 pounds. This guy's a bull. We need offensive linemen. You have to invest in offensive linemen so that our quarterback, Jared Goff, has time to throw the damn ball and maybe create some running lanes for David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So I like this pick as well. He replaces Kevin Seitler. We lost him to free agency this past offseason to the Tennessee Titans. So some protection for Cam Ward, perhaps. He's a 2-time college football playoff national champion with Georgia. He won in 2021 and 22. So that's a good pick, in my opinion, as well. 3rd round pick, we got Isaiah Tesla, wide receiver from Arkansas, 6'4", 217 pounds. Big boy for wide receiver. He spent most of his time on the outside, but he can adjust in the inside, played the slot position there. So he finished the 2024 season, 28 receptions, 546 yards. He averaged 19.5 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns, but he joins Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Tim Patrick. So a lot of good wide receivers there. This not a bad pick. You got to invest in wide receivers. Our 5th round pick, Miles Frazier, offensive guard out of LSU. He primarily played right guard in his 4 years at LSU, but he started 11 games at left tackle, 9 games at left guard, and 2 games at right tackle. So he's very versatile. He can play anywhere on that offensive line. He joins Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow for that offensive line. One of the best we had in the NFL last season. 6'6", 317 pounds. This guy's an absolute truck. He's a monster. I like it. 6th round pick, we got Ahmed Hashani, Hassani, excuse me, Ahmed Hassani. And he's an edge rusher from Boise State, 6'2", smaller guy, 267 pounds. He's not the 6'7", 269 pounds that we got with Aiden Hutchinson, but he's quick. No, he's quick. He's quick off the ball. He had 32 tackles for loss, 22 sacks over 2 seasons with Boise State with the Broncos. And he's the first Egyptian player to be drafted in the NFL. So great story there. And then afterwards, I saw on his Instagram, he proposed to his girlfriend. So, great moment, great weekend for him. Ahmed Hassani. Remember that name. Hopefully he can do great things here in the Motor City. But yeah, those are the Lions draft picks. And I do believe they got a safety out of Georgia. But the Lions, I think they did all right. B+, B-, or B, right in that range. I would like to see an edge rusher there, but defensive tackles, you got to invest in them. Offensive linemen, you got to invest in them as well. Wide receiver, can't have enough wide receivers, right? Especially in today's game where it's a pass-happy league. But the Detroit Lions, man, hey, Brad Holmes, let him cook. Let that guy cook. So, who did I not mention? Oh, Dan Jackson, safety from Georgia, and then Dominic Lovett, wide receiver from Georgia. So last 2 picks were from Georgia. We got the offensive lineman, Tate Ratledge from Georgia. So a lot of Georgia players Brad Holmes decided to draft. A lot of talent coming out of that school. You can't blame him, And then you got Arkansas, LSU, Boise State, Ohio State with Talik Williams. So now you got to piece it all together, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. Piece it all together. Because like I said, that Super Bowl window's shrinking. It's either this year, for sure next year. But this year, much preferred. Especially after that disgusting, embarrassing divisional playoff home loss to the Washington Commanders. A rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Hopefully we can rebound from that. So that was the NFL draft. And then obviously the highlight, many of you saw it, 5th round, Shadir Sanders finally gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns, 144th pick in the 5th round. And you know what? We'll see what happens. Like I said, Tom Brady, 2000 draft, went on to win 7 Super Bowls in his career. 2 Super Bowls for 2 different franchises. Super Bowl for different franchise. Patriots, he won 6, and then obviously he won 1 with Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2021. So we'll see what happens. And yes, it was the 6th round, 6th round, 199th pick from Tom Brady. I thought it was the 7th round. That's my bad. But yeah, 6th round, 199th pick. Tom Brady goes on to win 7 Super Bowls. Now, I'm not comparing him to Shadir Sanders. Time out. Don't give me crap. Don't be yelling at me. No. All right, let's relax. But that was definitely a shock. I didn't expect him to go down that far. Like I said, 2nd, 3rd round at most. But 5th round, and he goes to Cleveland. Cleveland, you got Deshaun Watson there. You got Kenny Pickett. You got Joe Flacco. That guy's 40 damn years old. He's there now. And then you got Shadir Sanders in the mix. So, a lot of quarterbacks for Cleveland now. So, you have that going on. But, yeah, the NFL draft, it was crazy. I like the Seth Rollins bit. He's coming out and making the Chicago Bears pick. That was pretty funny. WWE crossing over, right? That's craziness. But, that WWE's been like that for many years now. So, let's see. I just want to double check. Who am I missing? Dylan Gabriel. That's the other quarterback that Cleveland has. So, you got Deshaun Watson. You got Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett. You got Dylan Gabriel, quarterback out of Oregon. And then now you got Shadir Sanders. So, 5 quarterbacks. Can't have enough quarterbacks, right? Some veteran leadership there. Some rookies. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Cleveland. Maybe with all those quarterbacks, maybe they can win their division. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's another firestorm we don't need to talk about. We'll save that for a rainy day. But that is the NFL draft. It was interesting as usual. But yeah, Detroit Lions, BB plus, perhaps. wasn't sexy, but Brad Holmes, let him cook. So that's the NFL draft. We got to hop over to UFC. There was a fight night this weekend. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? So many sports on. The NBA playoffs. You got Tigers baseball. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs. You had the NFL draft on last weekend. But UFC, they put on that fight night Saturday. It wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. I liked it. This is main card stuff, so only reading the main card. Randy Brown and Nicholas Dalby, my opinion, best fight of the night, because Randy Brown with that vicious right hook. You guys seen it. It's all over social media. It's all over the internet. Probably on YouTube right now on UFC's YouTube page. But yeah, his second round KO, right hook to Nicholas Dalby. He went down like a ton of bricks. It was beautiful. I mean, it was a very physical matchup. Nicholas Dalby broke his nose in the first round. His corner put it back together, but that didn't matter because Randy Brown was throwing some bombs, man. This guy. He looked good, Randy Brown. I liked seeing what he did this past weekend. A welterweight 170 pound fight. He bounced back after that split decision loss to Brian Battle back in December at UFC 310. So good to see Randy Brown back on the winning track there. But yeah, hell of a knockout. Vicious. Whew. Man, you heard that. He probably broke his jaw, dude. It was just like, bam! Beautiful right hook from Randy Brown. But that was the fight of the night. Knockout, perhaps, of the year. But that was good. That was good to see that. But unfortunately for Dalby, Nicholas Dalby, second loss in a row for him. His last win came in November 2023, a couple years now. That was a KO, TKO win versus Gabriel Bonfim. So, and then throughout his career, Saturday night when he got knocked out by Randy Brown, that was his first defeat by finish. He was never finished before. All of his defeats went to a decision, whether it be split decision or unanimous decision. All of his defeats went to the judges. He was never finished before coming to this fight against Randy Brown, but then Randy Brown knocked his ass out with that beautiful, beautiful right hook. That was great to see. So you had that going on. Michel Pereira going up against Abus Magomedov. Magomedov wins this one by unanimous decision. This was the middleweight division, 185 pounds. Second straight loss for Michel Pereira, and a third straight win for Magomedov. So congrats to Magomedov adding another victory to his career. And then this fight was pretty interesting. Giga Chikadze going up against David Onama. Onama won by unanimous decision. This was featherweight, 145-pound division. Fourth straight win for David Onama. And then Giga Chikadze has lost 2 straight as a result. So that was a very interesting fight. Very physical, but they gave it to David Onama. So that was a decent fight. Anthony Smith going up against Jean Mignon. Light heavyweight, about 205-pound division. Mignon wins by KO, TKO in the first round. And it was Anthony Smith's last fight. 60 career MMA fights for Anthony Smith. He has a 38-22 record, so he never had a no contest, never had a draw, always finished, which is crazy, especially in this sport. And then you guys remember back in 2019, he fought John Jones at UFC 235 for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. He lost that one by unanimous decision, and as a result, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. But he's 36 years old. It's time to hang it up. But yeah, congratulations to Anthony Smith, man. He did us wonders. So you had that going on. But yeah, and Jean Mignon, he won by KO, TKO, elbows, vicious elbows, split up Anthony Smith. He was bleeding all over the place. He looked like a stuffed pig, man. He looked like a bloody mess. It was god ugly. It was horrible. But Mignon, the referee, Jason Herzog, he's one of the best in the business. He gave Anthony Smith so many opportunities, and then finally he came in. So, I appreciate that. But, at the same time, yeah, he was getting his ass beat with those elbows. But, yeah, Mignon, 12-fight winning streak as a result, beating Anthony Smith this past Saturday. So all these finishes have been in the first round. So this guy has finished his opponent in the first round. There's not even a second round involved in this guy's fight, in this guy's fights, because he finishes his opponent in the first round. And they were in 12-fight winning streak. In those 12 fights, all the finishes in the first round. So the second round doesn't even exist when this guy fights. Crazy. His last fight to go past the first round, it was 2018. 7 years ago. The last time Jean Mignon, one of his fights, went past the first round. So watch out, light heavyweight division. This guy's ready to smash your face. And you're probably going to get finished in the first round because 12 of his fights have been finished in the first round. So that was a good fight there. But then the main event, Ian Machado Gary going up against Carlos Prates. Ian Machado Gary won by unanimous decision. He looked absolutely amazing. I mean, those leg kicks were brutal. You know, his boxing was amazing. You know, that jab, those hooks were great. He bounces back from his loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov from last December, UFC 310. So good to see Ian Gary on the winning side again. He had a 15-fight. Prates had a 15-fight winning streak before he lost. Machado Gary had a 15-fight winning streak before his loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov back in December of 2024 at UFC 310. And then Carlos Prates, he had an 11-fight winning streak coming into this fight. 10 of those victories come by KO, TKO. 6 of those fights in the first round. So another fighter who does damage quickly and ends fights in the first round. But he just looked off, man. He looked gassed. It's like he smokes too many cigarettes. I mean, that's possible. I mean, I don't see how that's, like, as a fighter, smoking that many cigarettes. Yeah, that's not good, brother. But yeah, he just looked gassed. And then that 5th round, you know, he had Gary on the ground and he was throwing some bombs. He was throwing some good punches on the ground. And then he just allowed Gary to get up. I think he was just exhausted. But, dude, mentality-wise, you just got to go. And, you know, I heard Ryan Felder, a former UFC fighter. I heard Laura Sanko, all the commentators saying, you got to go, man. You got to go. You got to throw some punches. You got to go. And he just let Gary to get up. And he allowed Gary to get up and, you know, defend himself. But Prates, you know, I mean, I was kind of disappointed in his performance. I really was. I thought this was going to be a quick knockout by him, but nothing to take away from me and Gary. That's a hell of a fighter there. I mean, he looked great. Like I said, those leg kicks, his boxing was unbelievable in this fight. But Prates, man, I don't know, it's just like that killer mentality wasn't there. Like I said, he got gassed towards the 3rd round, then you go the extra rounds, the 4th and 5th rounds. He looked very tired. You know, he looked very exhausted. So unfortunate, but like I said, you know, Prates had an 11-fight winning streak, 10 of those by KO, TKO. 6 of those finishes came in the first round. But then he loses this one against Ian Machado Gary. So Ian Machado Gary bouncing back from that loss, as I mentioned, against Shavkat Rakhmonov, another guy to watch out in the welterweight division. UFC 310 back in December 2024. But Ian Gary back on the winning side. So overall, fight night wasn't too bad. Like I said, Randy Brown, Nicholas Dalby fight of the night. Perhaps the knockout of the year by Randy Brown on Nicholas Dalby. That right hook, probably the best right hook I've seen so far in combat sports. But yeah, that was great to see. So that was fight night. But now we got some boxing coming up this weekend. So Friday night, we got Ryan Garcia going against Rolando Raleigh Romero. So Friday, May 2nd, Times Square, New York. The Zone pay-per-view is going to host this fight, 6 p.m. This event starts. They're going to be the main event, so they're not going to come on until later. But yeah, Ryan Garcia, 24-1 and 1 record. You know, obviously the no contest from his last fight against Devin Haney. Back in April of last year, he won originally by majority decision, but was overturned because Ryan Garcia failed a drug test because he's a bonehead. So hopefully this time, hopefully it's a legitimate win if he does win against Rolando Raleigh Romero. Welterweight's going at it, so it's going to be a very interesting fight. But yeah, Romero comes in with a 16-2 record. His last fight, he won by unanimous decision against Manuel James. Instead of James. James. Yeah. Manuel James back in September of 2024. So Romero trying to make a name for himself, being Ryan Garcia, one of the best boxers in the world today. So that's the main event, Friday night, live from Times Square in New York. That's going to be a good one. Devin Haney, that sounds familiar, right? Obviously. He's going up against Jose Ramirez. Devin Haney coming into this fight 31-0. One no contest, so he's technically still undefeated because that loss against Ryan Garcia last April technically didn't count because Ryan Garcia failed a drug test, like I said, because he's a bonehead. Excuse me. He's the former undisputed lightweight champ, so he's had some success, obviously. He's a big name in the boxing world. He's going up against Jose Lopez, 29-2 record. His last fight, November 2024, so a few months ago, he lost to Arnold Barboza Jr., who's on this same card. So all these guys kind of know each other, right? He lost that fight by unanimous decision. So Jose Ramirez looks to bounce back against Devin Haney. The welterweight's going at it. I don't know. I like Devin Haney in this one. And then the main event, Ryan Garcia and Rolando Raleigh Romero. Ryan Garcia. I like what he was able to do against Devin Haney last April. He looked really good despite the failed drug test. Hopefully we don't have any of that nonsense coming Friday night. I don't want to hear anything over the weekend. So I got Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, but then in those two fights. But then the last fight on this card, we got Teofimo Lopez going up against Arnold Barboza Jr. Sounds familiar, right? And this is for Teofimo Lopez's WBO super lightweight title. So we got a title fight on the line Friday night. Lopez, he's on a five-fight winning streak. His last fight came in June of 2024. He beat Steve Claggett by unanimous decision. So good for him there. Arnold Barboza Jr., he's undefeated, 32-0. Absolutely phenomenal. He's the WBO interim light welterweight champion. And this is for, obviously, Lopez's WBO super lightweight title. So two good fighters going at it. Who's going to win this one? I got to go with the undefeated guy, Arnold Barboza Jr. I think he's going to handle his business and become the WBO, super lightweight champion. So you have that going on. So 3 fights this Friday night, 6 p.m., The Zone, pay-per-view. Check it out. Times Square, New York. Very interesting venue for a boxing fight, but hey, whoever puts asses in the seats, right? That's the boxing game. So you have that going on Friday night. But then the next night, Saturday night, May 3rd, you got Canelo Alvarez going up against William Skull for the undisputed super middleweight title. So this is going to be a good one here. So the fight probably won't start till 11 p.m. So I think the fight card itself starts at 7 o'clock. 7 or 8 o'clock. I think it's 7 o'clock, according to Forbes. So that's a reliable source. I'm hoping, right? The Zone obviously going to carry this event as well. Boxing fanatics, you're in for a treat. Get your popcorn ready. Get the family, get the friends over, drink some beers. Modelo. I mean, if you're inviting me over, get some Modelo for the Bryce. I'm just kidding. But get everyone over. Get your popcorn ready. We got a lot of good boxing fights this weekend. So Canelo Alvarez, William Skull going at it. This is Canelo's first fight under his new Riyadh deal that he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh back in February of this year, so a few months ago. His first of a 4-fight deal. Obviously, it includes that Terrence Crawford fight, that much anticipated Terrence Crawford fight. This is a fight we've been waiting for years. Hopefully, it happens in September. There's, obviously, there's been rumors it's going to happen in September, and I mean, I'm not really too sure if it's confirmed. It might be. When you're dealing with Turki Al-Sheikh, that guy doesn't mess around. He's going to make sure these guys fight, because money, baby. I'm making money off of you. You're making money. Everyone's making money. The Riyadh season, venue and the channel and the Zone, everyone's making money. So he's making sure these guys fight. So you got that going on, but that's in September, so we got a while for that. As I mentioned, this fight between Canelo Alvarez and William Skull is for the undisputed super middleweight title. 12 rounds, so this is going to be a really good fight. Alvarez, he has a 5-fight winning streak coming to this fight. His last loss came to Dimitri Bivol a couple years ago. I mean, Bivol's much bigger than Canelo Alvarez. Interesting that he took that fight, but, hey, Canelo's ready to throw down with anybody. He don't care. Let's go, baby. Let's go. This is boxing, baby. This ain't ballet. I love that attitude. So Alvarez, 5-fight winning streak. His last fight came against Edgar Berlanga. He won by unanimous decision, and he retained the WBA, the WBC, the WBO, and the reign super middleweight titles as a result. So William Skull, he's 23-0. He's undefeated. He's the IBF super middleweight title, and he was supposed to fight. Canelo was actually supposed to fight William Skull many months ago for the IBF title when Canelo had the title, but then it didn't happen. Canelo didn't want to fight him, whatever. So as a result, Canelo had to give up the IBF title, and William Skull won it, and now he's the IBF super middleweight champion. But it's undisputed. The undisputed super middleweight title is on the line between these two gentlemen, these two fighters. It's going to be a good one. I got to go with Canelo Alvarez, man. He's going to be the undisputed super middleweight champion after it's all said and done Saturday night. So you have that going on. And then you got Bruno Sarace going against Jaime Munguia. Obviously you heard these names before, so this is going to be a really interesting fight. This is a rematch from last December, so a few months ago. Sarace won by knockout. It was in the 6th round against Jaime Munguia. It was an upset KO victory for Bruno Sarace. So Jaime Munguia looking to bounce back from that defeat. So that's going to be a very good one. So who wins this one? I'm going to go over Sarace. I think he's going to go 2-0 against Jaime Munguia in that one. But that's going to be a really interesting fight as well. So watch that one. And then Martin Bakole. You got two heavyweights going at it. So you got Martin Bakole. If you guys remember him, he fought on the same card as Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol a couple months ago. It was a short notice fight. He lost that one. So he's looking to bounce back in the win column. He's going up against F.A. Ajaba. So this is going to be a good fight. Bakole lost to Joseph Parker by TKO. Like I said, it's a short notice fight. Same card as Beterbiev, Bivol 2 back in February of this year. He lost that one. Ajaba looking to extend his winning streak. He's on a 5-fight winning streak so far. His last fight he won by split decision against Guido Fianello back in April of last year. So he's had a lot of time to rest. Martin Bakole coming back in the mix, couple months rest. So who's going to win this one? Man, I don't know. I would like to say, but I'm going to go with Martin Bakole. I think he needs this victory, but I think coming back too quick might be a detriment to him. F.A. Ajaba has had much more time to relax and train and have a proper camp. So he could win as well, but I'm going to go with Bakole on this one. So yeah, 2 heavyweights going at it. That's going to be a good one there. And then the next fight, you got Badou Jack going up against Ryan Razicki. Excuse me. So Ryan Razicki going up against Badou Jack. So Badou Jack, the Ripper, Badou Jack, he's on a 6-fight winning streak. He is the WBC Cruiserweight Champion. So he's actually defending that title against Bruiser Ryan Razicki. He's on a 7-fight winning streak. His last fight came majority decision win to Yamel Peralta back in December of 2024. And then he beat him previously back in May of 2022. So Ryan Razicki looking to make a name for himself against Badou Jack. But I'm going to go with Badou Jack. I'm going to go with champion in that one. But that's going to be a good one there. So yeah, a couple title fights on this card. Canelo Alvarez and William Skull. So like I said, you boxing fanatics are in for a treat this weekend. So check it out. Play some bets. Watch the pay-per-view. Like I said, get your popcorn ready. Get those Modelos ice cold because Zach Bryce is coming over. Get your friends and family over. It's going to be a good weekend for boxing fans. And then obviously you got 2 other fights on this card. You got Marco Verde versus Michel Polina, and then Brian Leon versus Aaron Guerrero. 2 middleweight bouts there. This is going to be a good one. So, great weekend for boxing. So check it out. Play some bets. You got Ryan Garcia, Rolando Raleigh Romero fighting Friday night. Main event there. And then you got Canelo Alvarez and William Skull competing for the undisputed super lightweight championship. So that's going to be a good one there as well. Or super middleweight champion, excuse me. The undisputed super middleweight title is on the line between Canelo Alvarez and William Skull. 12 rounds. That's going to be amazing. That's Saturday night. Ryan Garcia fights on Friday night. So check them out. The Zone pay-per-view. Boxing Fanatics, like I said, you're going to have a hell of a time this weekend. It's going to be fun. And now we got to wrap up this episode of Guys Time today, talking about these Detroit Tigers. Let me tell you something. See, I'm wearing the hat today. Of course I am, because these Detroit Tigers, absolutely amazing. So far, knock on wood, right? They got to stay healthy. Pitching's got to stay healthy. We got to go. But 18-10. First in the AL Central. I'll take that. That's the best record in MLB. They swept the Orioles. They won 7-0. They shut them out yesterday. Tarek Skubal, another great performance by him. 6 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts, 4 hits, 0 earned runs. That guy is absolutely phenomenal. And you wonder why he won the AL Cy Young Award last year, because he is fantastic. He's absolutely phenomenal. 8-2 on the homestand for the Detroit Tigers. So they were home for 10 games. They won 8 of them. Absolutely phenomenal. They have a 12-3 record at home. That's their personal best since 1911. 114 years ago. The last time the Tigers had a good start at home. But 12-3 to open up the season at Comerica Park, at home field. Their best since 1911. 114 years ago. I'll take it. That's awesome. So yeah, that going on. Tarek Skubal, like I said, phenomenal performance yesterday in that shutout victory against the Orioles. 3-2 on the season, 2.34 ERA, 40 strikeouts for Tarek Skubal. He's tied for second in the major leagues. Casey Mize, he pitched in the series, 4-1. He's looking phenomenal. Like I said, those past couple years, Tommy John surgery, back injury, left hamstring strain. Last year, he's looking phenomenal so far. 2.12 excuse me, ERA for Casey Mize. He's looking good. Like I said, that pitching, that rotation so far looking phenomenal for the Detroit Tigers. But as a result, now we got to start this 10-game road trip for the Detroit Tigers. They got to play the Houston Astros tonight, 8-10. Jack Flaherty gets the start. He definitely needs this one, so he gets his first start. And the Houston Astros, they're third in the AL East with a 14-13 record. They avoided the sweep against the Royals. They won yesterday. The Houston Astros did, so they look to defend home turf tonight against these red-hot Detroit Tigers. We'll see what happens with that. But then after this series against the Astros, so we got Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, and Jackson Jobe going to get those starts against the Houston Astros. Then we got to go out west. We got to go to L.A. for the Los Angeles Angels matchup. Four-game series against the Angels. They're 12-15. They're fifth in the AL West. We got Casey Mize making that first start Thursday this week, and then you got Skubal on Friday, and then Flaherty, and then Reese Olson's going to end that series there. They were swept by the Twins this past weekend. 5 total runs scored for these Angels, so they're really struggling. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They got to figure something out. And then we end this road trip against the Colorado Rockies, who, God, they're 4-23, dude. That is, whoo! Man, that's stinking up the joint, dude. That is god-awful. 4-23 after 27 games. I mean, holy crap. That's blah. Makes me want to puke. I mean, it's disgusting. 4-23, man. I mean, the Rockies. Whew, you got to figure something out, Jack. That's horrible. They're fifth in the NL West. They lost 5 in a row. They got swept by the Reds. But Again, it's baseball. Anything can happen. But look at these times. This is next Tuesday, by the way. 8:40, 8:40, 3:10. So Colorado, they like that weird-ass time frame. So whatever. We'll take it. Jackson Jobe gets a start there against Colorado next Tuesday. And then Casey Mize and then obviously Tarek Skubal. Our ace wrapping up that series as well. And then we come back next Friday against the Texas Rangers. We got a 3-game series there at home in Comerica Park. So Tigers, man, they're looking good. I'm 2 thumbs up. They're looking good so far. Can't complain, but it's still very early in this long and exhausting MLB season. You still got 120 plus more games to go. So we'll see what happens. But the Detroit Tigers so far, can't complain, man. 2 thumbs up for those guys. Pitching's absolutely phenomenal. The bats are coming alive now. Spencer Torkelson looks great. Zach McKinstry, Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, kind of stepping up a little bit. He needs to stop striking out so much and having 0 for 3, 0 for 4 games. Javier Baez, he's starting to pick it up a little bit, try and make it worth that 6-year, $140 million contract he signed at the end of the 2021 season 4 years ago. But the Detroit Tigers looking good so far. So we're done today. This is Guys Time with your favorite, the Bryce himself, Zach Bryce. So thank you for joining me on this edition of Guys Time. We had a lot to cover. It was great. So thank you for joining me. You know the drill by now. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can listen to this episode. You can see my beautiful face on YouTube if you feel like it. But you can listen to audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But as always, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Enjoy the week. You guys are amazing. But yeah, go Tigers and go Pistons, because those guys definitely need to win tomorrow night, Game 5 against the New York Knicks. 7:30 on TNT or Max, wherever you watch your basketball games. All right, peace out, guys. Have a great rest of the week, and take care. Have a good one.